disagree. An hour.
And a half.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome
7:30 is
to
the
the Bridgewater School Committee meeting of Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. We have a motion to open our meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, as I said, welcome everyone, and as typical, we'll start out with Ainsley will be our leadoff hitter tonight to give us updates about the schools. Ainsley?
Okay. For the central school, the students are taking the winter iReady assessments in both reading and math through the end of the month. After-school activities started last week and will run for 5 weeks on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Ms. Byrne would like to thank Lisa Varso for all of her coordination. The PTO Boosterthon Fun Run kicks off on January 29th, and the run will be held on February 6th and 7th. World Read Aloud Day is February 5th. On that day, they will launch their Winter One Central book, The Hat by Jan Brett. The students will comparing and contrast the fall book, The Mitten, also written by Jan Brett, to The Hat. Their 1 month-long reading incentive, Reading is Out of This World, will begin on February 5th and will go to March 5th. The classroom at each grade level that reads the most minutes will earn a basket of Galaxy goodies, and the incentive will accumulate with Literacy Night on February 6th. For the middle school, over the past weekend, the production of Finding Nemo Kids took place, and it was very well. I actually was lucky enough to be an intern there, so I got to see it from the beginning in September to what the show came to be over the weekend. And I'm very proud of all of them because it was a lot of hard work. And
Right.
yeah. Also, the winter iReady diagnostic has gone great and will conclude by the end of the month. For the high school, we just started term 3, and right now we're just we switched classes. There's the switching lunches. They're switching lunches. And after February break, parent-teacher conferences are going to take place, and we're going to talk about placements for classes and everything. And right now, it's more of the calm before the storm because January and February are kind of prepping for March to the end of the year. So yeah, that's all right.
Very good. Thank you, Ainsley. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Public comment? Anyone here for public comment? Yep. Move on. Let's see. The superintendent's corner.
Just real quick, we had a special town meeting the other night to approve our SOI project at the Mitchell School, which are windows and some windows and a full roof. The feasibility was approved for up to $120,000. And then once the feasibility gets done, and we'll find out exactly what the building needs and how much, and then we'll go from there, and then have another vote whether to go forward.
Remind me, are we in the MSBA program for
We are,
that? or-
we are.
Once-
We are in the accelerated program.
Okay,
We've been in, we've had the boiler at Central, the roof at Central. Now we're on to Mitchell
okay,
for doors and windows and a roof.
okay.
Yep. Very quickly, just a highlight of, I want to congratulate, it is a bittersweet moment always when we have a retirement in mid-year, especially for someone who has been in the district for over 25 years, and that is Mrs. Janice Griffin from grade 7. I reached out to Mrs. Griffin and asked her to send some highlights to us so that I could read a few things, because I probably don't know enough or give enough credit where credit is due, and I don't put enough in there, but I said, give me some of the things that you would want us to highlight for you. And I do have her golden apple for her. It is in the office, and I will bring it up after, in the morning, so. Getting to know and be part of thousands of East Bridgewater students and families and their lives. Living in East Bridgewater for several years and seeing my daughters go through EB schools. Scorekeeping for the soccer games and watching the soccer state championships and the Super Bowls. Creating and continuing 7th grade traditions like field trips, the Turkey Bowl, the World Cup, March Madness activities, and the excitement of the first days of school and the last days of school. Working with her special colleagues and all the 7th grade teams, many of which are still lifelong friends. And she reached out and again said, if you'd ever need anything, please give us a call, or please give her a call, and she'd be willing to support us in every which way that we can. We do have a sub in. I'm sure it is not Mrs. Griffin, but we hope that that sub will grow into a Mrs. Griffin as she matures into a young teacher, but we wish her the best of luck. She's retiring after 25 years. We'll bring up her golden apple to her, and we congratulate her. And maybe some of you had her or know her from East Bridgewater, but I don't think I've ever seen her without a smile or without stopping in just to say hello, whether it's in the summertime or over the last couple of weeks doing her MTRS paperwork. She was always bittersweet when she came in. She was ready to put it in, but didn't really want to put it in. So we wish her the best of luck.
What's her last day? Is it
The 30th.
January?
January 30th.
Oh, wow. And an amazing point that you got to know thousands of students and families. That's really remarkable. The impact, when you hear it like that, you can really get the sense of impact of,
Well, when you're in 7th grade, you're going to see every student come through.
yeah.
You know, in the middle school, it's different when you're in an interdisciplinary area of the high school, or like a 4th grade teacher. You might see, you may have a 4th grade crew or class, but you're going to know that 4th grade.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
I don't know. if
Well,
she-
congratulations.
Anyplace else.
Wish her the best of luck in her retirement.
7th grade, but she's always was in the middle school, which is that in itself an accomplishment. the
Yeah.
whole time, being in the middle school that long. So congratulations, Janice.
Great. We all set? We move on? Okay. So, EBJSH, scholarship approval request from Ms. Rhonda DeChambeau. Are you here? Oh, great. You can probably have a seat right there at the end. That way you'll have a microphone too.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll just start.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So I had decided that it would be nice to be able to give back to the senior class at East Bridgewater High School. I'm a graduate of EBHS, and my husband's a graduate, and our kids both graduated from here. So we're longtime residents, and recently I've had some success with getting a book published. It comes out in June.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. And I really do think like a lot of that stemmed from my time in East Bridgewater, and so I thought this would be a nice way to give back. So the idea would be to establish this scholarship. I'd like to call it the Write On Scholarship for students who have a passion for writing. I think it's something that I would have really loved as a high school senior, to sort of have the opportunity to apply for something and actually submit a sample of writing to be sort of evaluated on my writing skills. And, understand too that, submitting and maybe even not winning the scholarship, that's part of being a writer too, is submitting and getting used to those rejections. So, but of course, the goal would be to select one student who has outstanding writing and award them with a $300 scholarship. So I would love to do that, and I will personally be funding that scholarship with the proceeds from my own writing career, which has taken many years and many years of rejection to get here. So I thought this would be just a nice way to give back to my community.
Well, what a wonderful, thank you very much. What a wonderful thought and effort on your part and all. And I'm unfamiliar, Superintendent Legault, the process, once we approve the idea of the scholarship, it then goes to guidance to set it all up so that it
Then
gets published, or?
Once you bring it in and you say it's okay, then we will talk to Mrs. DeChambeau and find out exactly what the criteria would be to receive the $300 in scholarship, what you are looking for, and if you're the committee who chooses the scholarship winner, then we would accept the whatever prompt you send out. The prompt would come in, whoever writes it up, we would send them to you, or you could come in and read here, and then you would tell us who you would like to award the scholarship to, and then that, we would go from there.
And then, again, through guidance or wherever, the dates would be, like, you'd have to have it decided upon by a certain date.
Well, once I find out from guidance, I'll know exactly when it has to be submitted. They've started talking to the seniors already, and I think they had a full assembly the other day, and I think some of them are posted at this time. I will ask them about it and when they would like to talk to Cam and see when they would like to get this in and start it, and then they'll talk directly to you so that there would be no question, any questions that you have, that you'll be able to get right through it.
Okay, yep,
right.
it's ready to go, so
Great.
we have that little application, and I've had a few people look at it from the school, so.
Okay, good.
I think it'll be clear.
Wow, that's exciting, very much. I think, very much so. I think we take a motion to,
As a former pick-up and drop-off person back in the day with our children, I'd like to make a motion to accept this most generous and incredibly thoughtful scholarship opportunity that the DeChambeaus have brought to
super,
us.
okay. You
You
seconded
moved
it?
it, second.
Okay, any discussion? Otherwise, all in
It's a
favor?
wonderful idea.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Appreciate
I'm very
it.
excited to do it. It'll be great.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great.
We'll look forward to see who the winner is.
I know, it'll be tough competition, I think.
Coming at a perfect time, considering there's a writing initiative going on at the high
I
school
know, I was
right
thinking
now.
the same thing.
That some of the kids are not exactly happy about. They're not yet embracing it, but kudos to the school for understanding how important writing is, and they have writing initiatives for every one of their classes now. So great timing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I thought it would be helpful for all of us to have an update. As you all know, we're considering doing something with the central school, building it, replacing it, painting it, whatever it is that we're looking at doing. So I invited the experts here just to give us a quick overview of sort of where we are in the process and what lies ahead of us. And sort of, I thought you might be interested in looking at if you haven't seen them already, sort of the design schematics, so.
So we have Alyssa Shatani, our owner's project manager from Left Field, and Jean Raymond from Raymond Design as our architectural firm. I will turn it over to Alyssa and Jean.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Is this the road into the new?
That's my ever-changing background.
Sure beats the old D-loop.
it's good to go.
Doesn't want to change.
No, it doesn't.
It's our mouse.
I wonder if it's just delayed, because it just did your request of making it full.
Yeah, lost my, sorry, 1 second. Let me extend the screen.
Is there anything on the screen that would do it?
To advance it, no.
I'm just gonna
A couple of the arrow
duplicate.
buttons might advance it.
Okay, we're not gonna be as fancy, we're just gonna do it.
Oh, there you go. All right, well, hey, my name's Gene Raymond. I'm one of the architects working on the Central School project. And we put together a summary deck of slides just to run through. And we've been asked to go at a fairly brief pace, good pace. So I think I'm going to go from big to small. So the big picture is the town applied to the Massachusetts School Building Authority for a construction grant. And what they have a very prescriptive process, and we started the process a few months back. But the idea is to end up with a fairly sizable grant to help defray the costs of whatever you all think is the right thing to do. We are currently we just submitted what's called a preliminary design program to the MSBA. And let me know if you can't hear me. But essentially, the big part of that is the district defining what their educational plan is for Central. And part of that is whether it's either a pre-K 2 or a pre-K 3 project. Then we've done a lot of technical work on existing conditions. What's the condition of the buildings? We've looked at a lot of different sites and tried to gather information on what it would take to build there. In the next couple of months, we're going to be submitting this preferred schematic report. And really the idea is that we've looked at 11 different options, and the building committee has evaluated them and decided one of the options is the way that they want to go with their grant application. So then it'll go to a MSBA committee. We'll get their feedback of what they think on it. Then, assuming, which usually happens, they say that is reasonable, it would go to the MSBA board for a vote to let us go into what's called schematic design. So that's 4 or 5 months of doing the first round of, I call them blueprints. It's just my age, but the final design stuff. And the idea is that we get detailed plans that show all the spaces, all the site work, but most importantly, we get the final estimates. And once we have the estimates of costs, there's another MSBA board vote that establishes the grant. So we're way up here, but we're going to quickly get down there. After that, and perhaps as early as this fall coming up, there'd be a town meeting for approval of the town share, and then a year of design and a couple of years of construction. So that's big picture, and again, we're kind of right up in this area. I'm going to have to pick up the pace, I can tell. So we've looked at 11 options. One of them is just upgrading the building to meet current codes, and we'll show you the cost of that. It doesn't do anything for the educational program, but the state asks you to do that just to put everything else in perspective. Then we've looked at 5 pre-K 2 options and 5 pre-K 3 options. And I'll show you what that means as far as Mitchell and the high school. We've already determined that 4 of the options are not viable because they were either on Strong Field or they are on the baseball field out behind the junior, senior high school here, and those sites are just too small. I'm all set. Well, let me just back up. So we're kind of down to Central School, maybe doing an addition renovation, maybe building out behind Central School where on one of the softball fields, or looking at Leland Farm, which is a big site and it's viable. Whether it's the right site or not, we don't know. Thanks. And the important next steps, if we're going to pick a solution or an option within the next couple months, is it going to be a pre-K3 or a pre-K2? So that's a big decision that has to happen. If it's pre-K3, the district would take 7th grade out of this building and put it into Mitchell because the 3rd grade would be coming out of Mitchell. So anyway, we'll select a preferred option and we'll submit that report to the MSBA.
Excuse me, Gene?
Sure.
That decision, PK to 2 or to 3, is that where the administration weighs in? Or it's the combination of them and MSBA, or the efficiency, or?
Yeah, it's definitely not MSBA. Okay. So it's clear, it's a district and town decision.
Okay.
So a recommendation from the school building committee would be made to the school committee to take a vote, and this would happen in about 2 months or so.
Okay.
Because at that point, we would have a preferred option, which includes the site, as Jean mentioned, but also the grade configuration. So that way we can nail down what is our target square footage based on our space requirements, and then we move forward through designing that on that specific site.
Yep. So that one decision will knock out half the options that are currently out there. So these are the 2 floors of the Mitchell Middle School. And we put a bubble around. There's approximately 9 classrooms up in this part where the 3rd grade is now, right? And if 3rd grade comes out, those get vacated. And then we go to the next slide. In this building, on the 2nd floor, we've highlighted the rooms that are currently used by the 7th grade. And kind of not surprisingly, it's basically the same number of rooms. So if the town decides to move 3 back to the elementary school, it's pretty simple to free up some space at the high school for other programs and put the 7th grade over at Mitchell. And Mitchell really kind of remains a 3 grade school. We started out this process many months ago looking at other peer communities and what they have constructed using the MSBA program. And we looked at a whole bunch. I'm not going to show you them all, but one school in particular kind of caught everyone's attention educationally wise, which was an elementary school in Westwood, which is brand new. And what was attractive about this was each grade level kind of had its own pod. And in this case, each grade level, these blue classrooms had five classrooms per grade. But instead of just having a corridor that runs down like this building and rooms on each side, what they did is they widened the corridor, and they're using this space for group activities and pull out support and all sorts of things. So they're kind of getting double use out of these corridors. And we're calling them classroom neighborhoods. So this is a picture of that corridor space in Westwood, and you can see it's kind of wide open. Each of the classrooms has these barn doors, so when the door is open, the class can kind of flow right out into here for their projects. The teachers can have eyes on what's going on. It's big enough they could have a whole bunch of different activities going on from different classrooms, or they could have just the whole grade level together for a morning meeting or some sort of presentation. So we've modeled we haven't designed it, but we've modeled what we're calling some building blocks. In East Bridgewater's case, it's projected to have 8 classrooms per grade level. And so what we've done is we've shown these in green, but we've also broken out this classroom neighborhood into smaller pods so that they're more comfortable. And they all have their own small extended learning space out in the hallway, but they also come together around a larger space if you want to do a whole grade level event. And this just gives you an idea in 3 dimensions how, you know, there might be one pod of 4, another pod of 4, and they come together in the middle here. And when you're dealing with small kids, we always try to break large things down into smaller pieces. So that's kind of the idea, having the 2 pods. So we are down to 3 sites and 3 options. And whether it's pre-K 2 or 3, that's how we get to 6 viable options still. This is hard to see, but Central Street is up here. Route 18 is kind of down here. And these are the 2 softball fields that the junior, senior high school uses. The existing central school is an L-shaped building up here. And in this case, if we're going to look at an addition renovation, really trying to work with the modulars doesn't make sense because they're not permanent. Working with the 1961 wing is fine, but it's really hard to take the existing building and make it look like that classroom neighborhood thing. It's just, the more walls we take down, the more crazy it gets, and you don't end up with a good product. But the original 1951 center portion of that building is really special, and it means a lot to a lot of people in this town. If we save that and take down the others, we're saving about half the square footage of the existing building. And we can put an addition out the back, and then we can have those classroom neighborhoods, 2 stories, pre-K, 1 and 2. And we obviously infill with cafeteria, music, art, all that kind of stuff. I keep talking about the existing, your existing gym with the stage in it. It's just a lovely room. And I think that it's the perfect size to make a new library for the new school. You're essentially building a new school out here, taking down these 2 wings and working with the 1951 building. Our thought is there's 9 classrooms on the back of the building. We just don't have the need for 9 classrooms because we have all the classrooms in the classroom neighborhoods. So our thought is, what could we do? And we thought about kind of inserting a gymnasium into the back and taking 9 of these classrooms offline, but still maintaining the facade and really most of the 1951 building. So the way that would work, if you thought about taking a saw and going through the site, and Central Street's up here, and the playground's here, and this is kind of like a dollhouse you're looking into. So you see you have 3 classrooms stacked on top of each other. That's your gym right now. And what we thought was, if you go to the next slide, that as part of the addition, we would build half of your gymnasium, which is still going to be larger than your existing gym, and then everything else that comes out this way towards Route 18. We'd leave 30 feet so you could keep the existing school in operation. And this happens all the time. Kids actually love it. They love watching the construction. And then when the addition is all ready, the entire school moves into the addition, because the addition's actually larger than your existing school. And then we would slide, the next slide, we'd build the other half of the gymnasium and kind of insert it into the back. So again, we're preserving that lovely roof, all the brick facade, and kind of the street presence up on Central Street. So if that doesn't fly, we would we've taken a look at building a freestanding, all-new school. This is Route 18 again, so we're on the softball fields. We take both softball fields offline. Your high school, junior, senior high school is here, so you still have the existing drive, and, you know, we'd make use of it to get to parking and bus loops and back up to Central Street. After the school moves into the new school, we do have to replace one of the softball fields, the varsity field. So it would involve tearing down the existing school, building some retaining walls so that you have a flat space, and replacing one of the softball fields up here with some other multi-purpose out in the outfield. Then if that, well, the third one is working out on Leland Farm, which is a huge site. We're really trying to wrap our hands in this phase on all the permitting issues, because it's got wetlands and streams, and trying to figure out how to get sewage out of the building and back up to your sewage plant on this site. It's all being accounted for, but, you know, we could come in, get into the middle of the site. We have all sorts of room to do all sorts of things on the site. And we'd be coming off North Central Street deep into the site. This would be the new school. You can see the size of it in proportion to all the fields that are out there. And then we would want to have a second way in and out, because in case of emergencies, and we'd end up winding through the play fields and ending up on Belmont Street to the north. So, and then what everyone wants to, you know, think about is what do all these wonderful things cost? And we want to be very, very careful, and we try to be every time. I'd like you guys to be also. These are order of magnitude costs. Nothing's been designed, but they use square footage, dollar figures. They use kind of our professional judgment based on what we know about the sites. And they're really for comparative purposes. You know, is one going to be so much less expensive than the other that, you know, it catches people's attention? They're all pretty close, as it turns out. And I don't know if you can see them or not, but we have just renovating the existing building, so no program improvements, would be about $50 million, and that would be 100% East Bridgewater share. MSBA would not reimburse a code upgrade project because it doesn't address educational issues. Then the pre-K2 items, we've shown construction costs, and then with soft costs in blue, we've shown pre-K2. This is the softball field. No, this is the Ad Reno. This is the softball field site, and this is Leland Farm. And then for pre-K3, you're building a bigger building, right? Because you have 8 more classrooms and maybe some other stuff. So those are all shown in green. So all of these are also the total cost, and they don't include what the MSBA grant would be. So we're working together, trying to reach out to MSBA, figure out what the reimbursement rate is. So again, you wouldn't go to town meeting with any of these or anywhere near it right now because we're so early in the study. But for instance, if you did pre-K2 out at Leland, it might be $150 million. If you did pre-K2 out behind Central, it's 149.7. So there's not a lot of difference. If you do the addition renovation, it's actually a little more expensive. It's 152. From comparison point of view, we don't know what these numbers are going to be when we dive into this next phase and actually get into the schematics on whatever the preferred option is. The only reason this would be a little more expensive is because there's a little bit of finicky work in the existing building, but mostly because whether you build a new building or you build the addition, it's all going to take the same amount of time. If you build a big addition, let's say it's 21 months. If you build a new school, it's 21 months. But once you move everyone into the addition, then you have another 6, 8, 9 months of renovation. So it's just an extended time period. And that's kind of, I don't know, does that, I
No,
keep blabbing.
That's
but,
great, and
you know.
the decision, for lack of a better way of describing it, of location, is that solely on us to present to MSBA, or does MSBA say, no, we like this site better? They're going to listen to what our choices are and why we choose that one, right?
Yeah, it's really what the town wants to do. And then MSBA just wants to make sure that you've explored everything, you've dotted your i's and crossed your t's. That's why they even make you do that. What would it cost just to bring the thing up to code? Because, you know, they're not going to fund it, but they want you to have an understanding.
Sure. And obviously, the town's support is critical. We can't do anything without the town's support and their vote. So can you give us a little background as to how we're cultivating that, so to speak?
Yes. So we meet, of course, bi-monthly with the school building committee, but we also have a communications working group. So we meet with that group of people in order to plan ahead on what events are we going to go to share about the project. We went to Christmas on the Common. We just went to special town meeting. So our presence at these events are going to help share information about the project, but we're also going to be presenting through community forums to the public. So we've had one so far in December. We'll plan to do those at least quarterly as we go through the next few phases, so that people are aware of where we are at, what's the progress we've been making, give them opportunity to ask questions, have commentary. We also have a website that has the project information on there. They can send an email with any questions. So right now, we're really targeting going to events in the spring, summer, and fall within the town. I know there's some expos and some cultural events that we're targeting. And we also, through this process, are just going to be reaching out to people, PTO, anyone who wants to get involved with giving their opinion, seeing where we're at with the project, asking questions, and just overall keeping everyone very informed about the project.
Great, thank you very much. I know we asked you the impossible to not only do this, but do it in a condensed version. I appreciate it. Anyone on the committee have any particular questions?
I do.
Amy?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry I was late. I'm just curious about the cost estimate. Is it considering inflation of materials and that?
It is,
Okay.
it is. It's projecting out the rest of the study process, a year of actually doing the bid documents, and then halfway through construction.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Right? No other questions? We're good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Right?
And I think this slide deck's available, right?
Yes, yeah. So we'll share this for you so you have it
Oh,
for your
super.
records.
Thank
and
you.
then if you want to post it online,
Yep.
we will do the same.
And Tina or Liz, where are we in the thought process? PK to 2, PK to 3?
So there's, obviously, there's justification for both. As we've talked as a committee, you know, certainly we're gonna have to weigh the financial, as well as the community support.
Yep.
You know, certainly looking at it from a district perspective, by having pre-K to 3, it provides benefits to the junior, senior, freeing up some space here as well for their extensions of programming. However, we're not gonna present something at the detriment of the project maybe not being supported.
Okay, thank you.
So any thoughts and suggestions from the committee are welcomed as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want Jay to go right into this?
Yeah, if we got the screen up and running.
I think he's ready.
We need to switch laptops.
So Jay's gonna do strategic plan 3.
Yeah,
Great, yeah, if you wanna do it now,
a
Jay.
couple minutes to get it set up, we're good to go.
Oh, all right. Maybe while we're doing that, we can talk about Subcommittees that have met since our last meeting. We had Budget Subcommittee meeting last week, and, but I don't know if you got my note, Dan, targeted Thursday at 3 o'clock, but I was waiting to hear from you whether that would work for you for another Budget Subcommittee. Oh, yeah, and we could do a virtual meeting, too. Doesn't work for you?
Have an interview.
Okay, so if you can give me some choices or whatever, or if virtual frees up some space, we could do that too. We just want to obviously keep moving. The Policy Subcommittee's been busy, I see.
We have.
Yes, and we're going to see some of the fruits of that more tonight. Yep. And the Bargaining Subcommittee for the Certified Professional Contract with the EBEA. And we have another meeting with them coming up next week.
Are you guys, is it like permitted to say a little bit about how the budget chat is happening, or is that not something? Like, just in terms of an update, I hear the meeting, but in terms of like what's happening in the discussion?
Well, I'll kind of back into it. A conversation today with Superintendent Legault about, we have to, again, working backwards, we have to present to the public
Yep.
our thoughts on, or our concepts of what we think the next year's budget is going to look like. And that has to be 60 days before the town meeting. So that kind of draws a line in the sand, so to speak. And at that meeting, it's a meeting of our committee, so we all have to be there. And we present, we can't end up with a higher number when we present that night, but we can come lower if we can. So now, working back, all the challenges, I know John and Liz have been working on this, and obviously a big part of it is quite frankly, the teacher's contract. And most of the budget is probably 78 to 80% salary, correct? So hard to, until that gets solidified, and that's part of our conversation later on tonight when we go to executive session. So it's, as always, a lot of moving parts, and I don't think we have anything definitive yet, right? We're just kind of piecing it together, unless you think there's more to it than that. So.
I think you voted in the subcommittee to give us $8,000 for the program from Frontline, so that for HR, so that we could do some onboarding. And you gave me an upwards of $7,000 for the DEI to start and work for that audit, because we haven't had a DEI subcommittee, but so that you could get a subcommittee to say we at least had that. I did have a conversation with North River Collaborative today. I think we're going to be we're going to be fine with that. I got my first bill from them on that, and I told them that to start winding us down from the surplus that we had, because I spoke to Jay and thought that would be all right, that we would use, because we had surplus going in to that, and we'll start working off of that, but I think we're going to be fine to do that. I just don't have any, I just did not want to call Arturo Forrest and say, and Paul Tavallos, the executive director, and say, yes, let's go, if I couldn't go without your, So we were all set on both of those, and I did speak to Yvonne Reed from Frontline, and told her to please send over the documentation so that because I know that you wanted to see what it had involved in it. She did, but I wanted to bring it out to the school committee first, just to make sure everybody heard the money. That's $8,000, and I did speak to Gordon today, and I'll send it out after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Want
that's
to go
good,
on
yeah.
that? Okay.
And of course, bargaining, we can't discuss anything.
Yeah, of course, I wouldn't expect that, yeah.
Yep. You good to go, Jay?
I'm good to go.
Okay. Here we go.
So just wanted to pop this up on the screen just to show you guys. It is our ClearGov site. I work on the third part of the strategic plan, which is assessment, monitoring student understanding, with Kate Byrne, Tom Walsh, and Jen McPartlin. you know, when you look at our ClearGov site, this is our assessment monitoring piece that shows you where we are in our planning stage. So we're about 72% complete at this point in the year. We've got a series of goals that we work on and we address. We've got some action items that we work on. Right now, in the midst of the year, we're at a point where we've got a good calendar up of all our assessments. We're in the midst of, and I think Ainsley did a nice job telling you, we're in the midst of our I-Ready for winter at the Central and at the Mitchell. We're also in the midst of Dibbles at the Central up to grade 3. So we'll have those results for you. They end at the end of January on both sites, so we won't have those results until February or so. But on our February 5th half-day PD, we're also doing data dives for all of our staff. So they'll have that information, they'll have it up and running. And what we do is we use this assessment and that data from the assessment and monitoring piece to really drive our education, drive what curriculum we're developing, how our kids are doing, assess how kids are doing, and then make any changes that we need to make.
And excuse me, Jay, so when this is complete, quote unquote, there'll be data that we can call up there. And this isn't on our website yet, but it's destined to get
So
there.
it'll be live tomorrow. We wanted to show you first.
Okay.
That the teams have been working on it, and that we have been monitoring and putting information in. I think Jay's gonna show you the
So when you look
goals.
at this one, we have 3 major overarching goals. Communicate a clear plan for diagnostics that helps teachers bring students into grade level instruction, build a culture of data and of reflection, and commit staffing resources. So when you look at it, it tells you where we are in each progress area. And then if we clicked into each of these areas, it will tell you where we are, and not only in our status, our overall progress, and then you can look at our action items in each of these. It's a little wonky that way. It was better on my screen. Right now, if you look at this one that talks about we ensure that we have that curriculum plan. We're on track, we're moving along, we're 75%, and as we go through, we meet on a regular basis and update that data.
And does this get broken up by grade level, by school?
So we do break it out by grade level when we get the data back.
Right.
In this overall piece here, it's not broken out by grade level in school, but we do when we get the data back.
What's an example of an attachment? That was one of the things, like what would be potentially included there?
So it might be I-Ready data or Dibbles data for school. It wouldn't be for individual students or a class, but it might be for school or for grade level. We haven't put any attachments in it at this point because we're still in that process. I mean, this is the window that, talking with all the curriculum people and talking with Gina, this is the window, this middle window is where it's most important to us. You come in the beginning of the year, we get our assessment data. Kids have a little bit of a slide in the summer sometimes. Now we get this data now, and this is what really can kind of drive what we're doing for the remainder of the school year.
And is there comparative, so in other words, once you get the data for current year, do you then look at prior, or is it all just standalone?
We can look back. That would be hard data now for us.
Yep.
Once it goes online, we can always look back to other years. This is, I think Superintendent will go just said, it's going to be live tomorrow, so.
Right? That's exciting.
Yeah.
Right, to have
You'll
this.
see all 3 strategic plans, what's been worked on, some attachments haven't been put up.
Want me to go back to the focus
Obviously, we're
areas?
going into-
Yeah, so you can see all 3 right here.
Those are our focus areas that we picked up on the strategic plan.
Yep.
It'll be on our website, you'll be able to click on it, and you'll be able to go through it. ClearGov will put it up for us, that's why it is not up yet this time. I wanted to bring it to you first. We decided that it would be after January 1st, especially going into the second part of, we had that first line of data. They're going into school, they're going into their classes of this year with last year's data, that first round of I-Ready. This is a different, now it's mid-year, now we're gonna see what the progress has been made, what adjustments should be made.
And then be able to see in the spring whether those adjustments work.
One of the examples used up there, you had the goals.
Mhm.
Can you bring that back? Yeah, I particularly like the build a culture of data and of reflection. I think that's one of the things, Peter, we've talked about over the last year or so, that, but that's an area that we'd really like to focus on and see those kind of results. So thank you, that's great, very exciting.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I think with regards to the data side, I think we were throwing a curveball with the election with regards to kind of how we're looking at data now. So I think we have to make sure we're paying attention to our own internal data sets and then things like SAT scores and those things. That'll at least help give us an idea as to how we're doing.
Right. And common assessments. I mean, you know, as we're in this phase two, your junior, senior high school is working on not only midterms, but common assessments. Some of these specials and electives are working on like a common project.
Right.
You know, so they're using rubrics to make the project-based learning determinations. Those are the things that I think would really help us.
I just want to mention that Mr. Silva will be,
Yes, so as you know, with MCAS no longer being a graduation requirement, the state has left it up to local districts if they want to make that determination, but also as a school district to revisit what are our graduation requirements and those competency determinations. So Mr. Silva is right now working with his leadership team as well as the school council.
in
So,
other school districts.
Right, looking at what other school districts are doing. So he'll be ready to come in the spring to share with the school committee what's been determined as the competency determinations that are required of all students to graduate.
Will that also have an impact on vision of the graduate?
Ultimately, it
Yeah.
feeds into that, yes.
Yeah.
There's 350 school districts in the Commonwealth, and certainly, we were both at a meeting last week. We don't want each school to go out on their own and say, this is what we're going to do in East Bridgewater. That's what they're going to do over in wherever.
Hingham.
Hingham. This is what they're going to do in the North Shore. So there is, we're sharing Google Documents with 300, the South Shore right now. Mr. Silva is working with Masada, with his principal group, looking at different, what are other schools doing, determinations, what's happening with them. Find a common medium and try to get it, because if kids move from school to school, as we remember, so these are types of things that, and unfortunately, unfortunately, DESE has said it becomes now a local decision, which, you could go all the way hard, you could take a hard left, or you could take a hard right. So I think everybody's working together, but I think letting Mr. Silva come in after he has a chance to take a look at what's going on. And
When did you say we'll know?
So they're working on that now, so even if.
I know by May 1st, he's bringing us our handbook, so I would say by probably in April. Would that give you a timeline? Is that?
I was just curious, March or April.
Well, you had mentioned that May 1st you would want to see the handbook, so I would think April would give us enough time.
I guess just a comment with regards to the status that we currently find ourselves in. Without a standard, and that's where I think we're left to a degree. Unfortunately, the voting population didn't see maybe as much of the importance of having standards. It's easier, in my opinion, to set a high standard and then work your way down than it is to set a lower standard and work your way up. So whatever we're
always easier.
deciding for standards, I would be mindful of how it's easier to kind of come down off of a high standard than it is to start with a low standard and get to a higher standard.
Right, and even just MCAS aside, we've always had standards for graduation requirements here in the district. And one of the things I think Mr. Silver had mentioned to you is the strong emphasis on common assessments, mid-year exams, final exams, because we want to make sure more so that there's consistency from one class to the next. If, multiple teachers are teaching the same subject, We want to make sure the competencies are the same as far as the expectations. So, so you will see that there is a lot that will be the same as the graduation requirements that we've had in place, MCAS aside, but certainly those assurances built in with midterm exams, final exams, making sure that they have a program of studies that meets the minimum requirements of how many years of each subject matter that they need.
Do you think, well, I was just sitting here thinking, because I know that the graduate requirements, so it used to be a policy in our manual, in the policy manual, and it's no longer a policy in the policy manual, and we were looking at potentially putting it back in the policy manual. And so I was wondering, if, knowing that we only have one meeting a month as a school committee, if it's possible to maybe find out maybe in March at the meeting, and then if we had questions or something, and then I'm just thinking ahead, trying to plan to have it ready before May, before the student handbook comes out, because knowing that our school committee is going to change also.
So when do you,
If it's possible for us to have it
April or March,
have it in March, if that's
just,
possible.
if you tell me March, I'll tell them March.
Thank you.
So what did we target in March, just then?
Graduation requirements. Well, that, and they'll most likely take into consideration, I mean, I know not all students go off to college, but for students that do go off to college, they'll most likely take into consideration classes that are required, graduation requirements that colleges expect students to have certain classes and things.
Good point, thanks, Ellen. Okay? Anything else? We'll move on. I think.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, Jay.
No problem.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jay.
I think Michael included in our packet just an update of the committee members and then the subcommittees. I think the newer ones, the DEI subcommittee and the safety subcommittee, I apologize, I've kind of dropped the ball on some of those. We'll get those up and running. And much like Amy helped us with the descriptions, I want to make sure that we have a description, a focal point of each of the subcommittees, why they exist. So I don't want to add anything to the list without that, so between now and next meeting, we'll make sure we have those descriptions and add them to the complete. And I'll ask Mike on further publication that each of the subcommittees would have their description attached to it, right on that page, so that there's never any doubt as to, well, this is the purpose of that committee. And one of the things, I haven't had a chance yet to sit with Superintendent Legault, some of these things get a little bit confusing because a number of these subcommittees are working on contracts, but depending on what year you're in, it's not relevant. So for instance, assuming we finish the teacher's contract this year, takes us out the next 3 years, well, even though we might list an EBA subcommittee, it'd sort of be not bolded. It's like, okay, that's really targeted for 2027 or whatever the next date is. The interim years, you really don't need it. So I just want to make it less confusing. So that's still ahead of us as well, too. I'll work on that. Let's see. And I think Mike also included the annual school committee calendar, just to kind of give us bullet points to know as the year unfolds. It doesn't cover everything that's going to be in our particular agendas, but there are main bullet points that we want to get to as the year unfolds, and that's the purpose of that. And then I'm sure it's always going to be under review, but just something to keep an eye on as well. In February and March, I had this conversation with Superintendent today. Our next meeting is February 18 and March 18. February 18 happens to fall on the school vacation week.
if that's a problem for people, we should know it now, and if having a virtual meeting alleviates that, great. But the other footnote to that would be targeting that date we're going to present to the public, the proposed
I
budget.
know that we said the 25th, but then I saw and then Dr. Williams pointed out to me that the central school building committee will meet on the 25th, which is a
Okay.
Tuesday, so if we could move it to Wednesday, the 26th,
26, okay,
for the public hearing.
yeah.
If you're going to have the school committee meeting, you certainly could have it on the 11th if you want it during school, or you could have it virtual on the 18th, or at any time on the 18th.
Yep. Oh, okay. So, for instance, if we keep the meeting on the 18th and have the public presentation of the budget on the 26th of February, that's not the certified budget. The certified budget will be voted on the subsequent meeting, which I believe is the March 18 meeting, right? So we present to the public, and it's a school committee meeting. Public can ask questions, we present. And then between that meeting and the 18th, any other work we need to do, we can reduce that number, but we can't add to it. So that's the work that'll happen ongoing, but certainly between that 26th public presentation and the 18th of the school committee meeting. So, I don't know if that was confusing or helpful.
So I guess we first kind of block it out with, is it easier to move the February 18th meeting to February 11th for people? Or would you prefer to keep it at February 18th?
I can do whatever.
Either one's fine. Either one's fine.
Oh, good. Okay, Amy?
February 18th is school vacation.
Doesn't impact me.
Doesn't impact me either.
Wow. Wow, you guys got nothing to do. This is great.
We're broke.
All right, so we'll keep it, is that okay, Liz? We'll keep it on the 18th, have the public presentation on the 26th.
And then for March, the request was to change to the 11th, correct? That would make something easier for us to meet on the 11th instead of the 18th, correct?
I'm not sure if there was an easier component to that. I thought it was mimicking keeping a month.
Oh, it was
between
just trying to
meetings.
keep the month?
I think it was trying to keep us in line
Oh.
in case you needed another meeting. If you ever needed to come back. One year, came out and they could not determine, so then they had another meeting. So, it's up to you.
I think for right now, we'd leave it as is on March 18, unless some compelling reason comes up to change it. That way it stays online with what we have published already, so.
March 18th, to keep March 18th. Amy, is that good for, you looked like you had a thought.
No, I was just thinking in my mind that there was a lot of paper in front of me, and I wanted to write down what you were saying.
Okay.
And I didn't want to write it on.
Before we move about the budget piece of it, just because I can see the month that Ellen's looking at, can we go back to
I wanted to go back
something in the
to
calendar?
Yeah.
That might impact something here?
So, I was wondering, well, this brings me, I have a two-part question. So is there any chance we could get the student handbooks for April? And the reason why I ask is because, so we have only one meeting a month, and knowing that our May meeting is the reorg meeting, and we'll have brand-new people on the committee. So if we could get the handbooks by April, and then, or, I know that's asking for a lot, because I know everybody.
I'll ask Mr. Silva where he is at,
And
and
then
then I will get back to you at the next meeting.
Okay, and then my other question was, what's the chance of us, do you think it's possible we could have 2 meetings in April or 2 meetings in May, and then we could have a meeting before, like an extra meeting before the reorg meeting?
I think to me, I think that makes sense with the amount that we're hoping to
Yeah,
wrap, I guess, I think of it as like a wrap-up before any potential
Yeah.
reorg.
yes.
I agree with that statement. I agree.
So what do you want to target for a date?
Anything anybody wants to make work. I'm easy.
So,
Probably 2 in April would be better.
What's the
If we
date of the
get-
April meeting?
Probably, I don't know off the top of my head. Probably, thinking about it, if we could get the student handbooks, like, say, like the first beginning of April. Then we can have 2 meetings
That
in
could
April.
be,
You're pushing
that might be
now.
tough.
You're pushing.
Can we take to,
But I'll
can we save a little bit of meeting time and look at, can we just agree that we'll communicate about scheduling outside of this meeting and then bring it back? But we know we're all having this meeting, we're identifying, we want to choose something again for April or early May. And we'll take to it, scheduling that outside of this meeting and bring it back.
Yes.
But we know we're going to do that.
Just for information purposes, our April meeting is scheduled for April 15,
Yep.
We probably,
and the reorg is scheduled for May 20. The elections are what, the 17th?
so if we were going to have 2 in, yeah, if we were going to have 2 in, we probably could have 2 in April.
April,
Yeah,
okay. All right,
and not
So
do the
add-
15th, like do earlier and do later.
I will send out an email about scheduling. I can take charge of that and make sure we're all in line for something with that.
and just why, as we were talking about the handbook, Liz, I know one of us suggested having that ready for tomorrow, maybe April, maybe, probably makes sense. And so it's not on the, probably we should add it to the annual calendar once we solidify it. So I targeted for April. We'll see if that's going to happen.
Can I ask another question, too? Well, only because I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I will in probably 3 or 4 weeks. But is it possible that I might be able to, knowing that I had some questions about the other iteration of the handbooks, is it possible for me to see what they're doing, and then I could give input, so that way we can get like a more finalized version, or a more, like when it comes to like school committee stuff and policy stuff that I wanted to have tweaked? Maybe I could see it, and then
Is this going to your committee or just you?
just me, like, just preliminary, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Are
But
you
no-
looking to kind of check? You're
Before
looking
we
for
get it
checks
in
and
April.
balances?
No, well, before April, I mean, like, is there any way that I might be able to just take a peek or give some input or something as the, with the last iteration of the student handbook, because I had some questions or suggestions.
You can certainly look at the handbooks. I think you need a committee, though, to make substantive.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to make changes. I'm just saying, as far as like school committee stuff that was either pulled out or needed to go back in, or just to be referenced.
Why don't you just submit a bulleted list to Mr. Silver of considerations when they're doing it? Then you know that all those points will be.
And you want them in central school and middle school, correct?
Uh,
Or just the high school?
Just the high school one for now. I haven't even had 2 seconds to look at the other ones. It
Okay.
was just stuff that I had noticed that was removed. And then I'll show you what I'm talking about.
If you give me a bullet point, we can go through it. Sure, or you can have
I
Mr.
just
Silva,
haven't,
but,
I've been so busy with the other policies that I haven't had a chance to finish looking at the handbook.
okay.
So I just want to record this. So public hearing for the budget, we said, is
February
26th. Correct, okay. That's done.
Can I ask a question, just because I've not been part of that? Who presents it?
I'm sorry?
Just because I've never been part of it, who presents it?
Superintendent
John and I.
Legault
Okay.
does the presentation, but we're there as well. It's a school committee meeting. We have to be there.
So
When
that's
is
going to
it?
be Wednesday, the 26th, you just said?
Yes. February 26th.
That gives you the date. That gives you the,
February 26th?
March 26th
No, we have to
February
finalize
26th.
is,
is the public
Public hearing.
presentation. We have to certify by the March meeting, March 18th. Yep,
So we have a meeting on the 18th and the 26th of February.
I think that's what we just
yes,
said.
Yes.
What time?
6?
okay,
Is that okay with 6, everybody?
yeah, think so. And I know if you wouldn't mind if we combine, I know John is presenting finance update, and we also have a bullet point for FY '26 budget. Maybe we're all kind of under the umbrella, but, so we want to start and talk about, we talked already a little bit about the budget, that it's in process.
Budget is in process. I pretty much have a first draft done. I believe that the governor's budget comes out the fourth Wednesday in January, unless there's a new governor, so I'm expecting that to come out tomorrow.
Okay?
I handed out, prior to this meeting, a couple pages. That's the budget status as of January 21st. It's a little different format. Hopefully, I made it easy to understand for you. But you can see salary, we have a budget of $21,169,000. We have expense so far through January 21st of $9,175,000. I have gone through and made a projection for the remainder of the year. As you know, we don't encumber salary expense. So I went through and made a projection throughout the end of the remainder of the fiscal year. I'm estimating another almost $12 million in expense. Total expense, $21,043,971. That would leave a balance of $125,673. Again, that's a projection as of January 21st. It could change tomorrow, but this is my best estimate as of today. Non-salary expense, I broke it out into the different categories of our accounting system. You can see system-wide, that's the legal expense, school committee expenses, insurance expenses. You have IT, you have the 3 different schools, you have special ed, music, and athletics. Now, in between each of these categories, there's a lot of different accounts, but this is a summary by category. You can see, obviously, you probably want to focus on the special ed line. We have a budget of $2,977,000. We have total expected expense of $4,743,000. And again, remember, that's expected. When we do the budget, it's a net number. It takes into account circuit breaker reimbursement. So this shows a negative balance in the special ed line of $1,766,037. Now, we have a circuit breaker balance at the end of fiscal year '24 of $525,000. We have a circuit breaker reserve relief balance at the end of fiscal year '24 of $119,256. We have a current circuit breaker payment this year of $637,980. Again, these would all offset that negative $1,007,000. And I have estimated, along with Jay's help, a extraordinary relief circuit breaker payment in May, based upon what we're seeing now for tuitions of about $611,563. So to offset that 1.7 million deficit, I'm looking at a possibility, I think it's a pretty good estimate, of almost 1.9 million in circuit breaker revenue coming in. That leaves an adjusted balance as of today of 128,317. Overall in non-salary, we have a balance, a positive balance of 385,923. Just remember, we're in the middle of January. We still have 5 more months to go of school. So it's pretty tight.
And, excuse me, just a second, John. So I know looking at next year's budget, sped and tuition costs and all are challenged, to say the least. Is it presumptuous to assume that circuit breaker will reflect a bigger number to kind of help offset some of those tuitions, or we just don't know yet?
So what we've been able to do in the last 9 budgets I've done, we've been able to prepay tuitions. We won't be able to do that next year. So, which means there will be less revenue to offset higher expenses.
Okay. Thank you, I think. I'll say thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay?
Any questions on
Will they be waiting, the process last year, right? Like there was some waiting until the end to determine the certain amount so that you could know what we might even be getting back? Or at the option of relief or extenuating I'm not going to use
Yes,
the right word.
so
You know what I'm talking
last
about?
year there were two types of relief.
Yeah,
There was
right.
extraordinary relief and reserve relief.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any mention of reserve
Okay.
relief this year.
Okay.
So this only takes into account extraordinary.
Okay. So if it was to be identified, it would most likely be one of those things like last year where it's late and you were hoping, but can't guarantee.
Right.
Right.
And what they did last year, though, they gave us reserve relief, but they took it away from
Yeah.
This-
Yeah,
this year's relief.
I remember that.
So
Okay.
it wasn't really a plus, it's just a cash flow.
Okay. And the,
Yeah, second page, this is the same summary I provide every time I do this, the revolving fund balances. Things are staying pretty constant from the end of fiscal year '24. The one thing you will see is in the school building rental account, there's a negative. We had a lot of pageants and concerts and things like that, so that revenue isn't reflected in that number yet. So that will be positive.
John, I apologize for maybe getting lost with regards to receiving the funding from Circuit Breaker and kind of going forward. If you were to look and project forward, we used to be able to prepay tuitions, now we're no longer to prepay tuitions, and that's going to have a negative budgetary impact. What is it, not that any of us have a crystal ball, but Jay, John, like, from a financial standpoint, how's that impact going to have, what impact is that going to have on our budget FY '26 and beyond?
It will result in asking for more money in our budget to cover those costs.
all right, any other questions? Good.
Well, the only other question that would balance that question off, is there any opportunity for savings, or how do we decrease our sped costs?
I mean, there are ways of decreasing it. We'd have to build programs into the district, having the number of kids that we have. So some of our out-of-district expenses this year came from also students who move in, increases in those costs, increases in those programs, bills that we've picked up. So if we can build some programs in here, but again, you need space, you need to have the number of kids to make it cost effective.
Thank you. And unless there's nothing else there, we'll move on to policy updates.
This, I wanted to go through them. I will go through them as quickly as possible because I wrote notes, the different ones. So in the pile, in your packet, they're in order. The way that I need to go over them is, the first few are the ones that MASC removed from their policy manual, and I met with Peter, and we both agreed to remove the policies IE, IGD, IL, and IMA. So on the agenda, IHAI, IHBGR, and IHBHEE are not in our school committee policy manual, and therefore we don't need to remove them because they are not there.
That whole first group is,
Yes.
okay.
And so the reason why these are listed on this agenda, the reason why these policies are listed the way they are is because I was in a rush to get them on the agenda, and it was before Peter and I had met as the subcommittee, so I didn't know what we were gonna do, and I was just in a rush to get it on there, so
Okay.
it's a little on the messy side.
So what motion would we be looking at taking
Oh,
for that first category? I wonder if we.
I would
going
move
to
to,
manage that?
to waive the second reading process and approve these in the first reading. So I would make a motion to waive the second reading policy to remove these, the aforementioned policies that I just named. Did I finish
Okay.
that?
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. So
Okay.
that was the first one to,
I'm sorry, can I just make a suggestion?
yes.
Thank you very much. There's only a couple of people on the planet who can name these by their alphabetized criteria.
them all,
Can you just name them by the normal names, like student service
Oh,
programs?
yeah, I can do that.
I'll follow that a lot easier, thank you.
Okay. Do you want me to do that now?
Sure, right ahead. For the next section.
Oh, for the next section, okay. But we just voted to
Yep.
waive the second reading, so do we want to vote on these in the first reading now, or wait?
Yes.
So
Because,
we'll
say
take
yes.
a motion to remove these.
Second reading,
in the first reading. Yes, because we just waived the second reading.
right,
Yep.
okay?
So I would move that we vote on these in the first reading for the ones that we just talked about for removing them from our policy manual.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. And then the next one, hold on. Oh. Sorry.
I think the ones, as you're looking those up, I think the ones that, thank you very much for putting those notes in there. I mean, the language updates, whatever, I'm not worried about that. You guys look through that. I don't,
Oh.
there's a couple
Well,
of them.
no,
I thought.
I'll go through them quickly. So, in the next section in your packet, there's one that's called IGA, IGD.
Are we not doing these in order from this list?
So this one is not specifically listed in the list, it's at the top, so it says IGD, curriculum adoption, MASC removed, combined with policy IGA. So the next thing that I was gonna say was, this policy IGA/IGD, curriculum development and adoption, is in your materials, in your packet. And, so that's a new policy because IGD, which was removed from the policy manual, is combined with IGA. So it's policy IGA/IGD.
I'm not following, we're just saying a bunch of letters. I have no idea what anybody's talking about.
I think the short answer is she'll get to it in order. This one is out of order.
Okay.
Yes, okay, thank you. But in the packet, in the materials, it's in order.
Yeah, you're in order if
You're
you
in
follow the
order from
packet.
there.
What's written on our agenda
Agenda.
is in order in the packet.
Yeah. This one was not part of, this one was a combined, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't part of any packet, so to speak.
So that's a new one. And then, so also in your materials, the next one in the materials is IHBHE, that's remote learning. So, I'm sorry to confuse you all. IHBHE, remote learning, is also a new policy, which, if I wasn't in a rush, I would have taken these out and put them in their brand-new new section, but I did not do that. So, East Bridgewater does not have this in our policy manual, but Peter and I, when we met, we decided, we agreed to actually adopt this new policy and put it into our policy manual, and that is IHBHE, remote learning. The only thing that MASC updated was cross-reference. They updated their cross-reference, but we do not have the policy, so we wanted to adopt it. That's as another new policy. And
How
then,
would, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How would this impact the school superintendent Legault if this was adopted?
say that again.
We don't really have, you wouldn't have any way of instilling this remote policy, right?
I can't hear what you're saying.
Whatever this is, adopting it, how would they action it?
This is if they had to go remote, if something happened, like
Do
say.
you have that infrastructure in place?
We do. Because we had to do it during COVID, so we're one-to-one district, we're ready to go. I mean, obviously, it might take us a couple days to set up if that were to happen again, but our teachers we have the capacity.
And then the other new policy is MASC had this already in their policy, but we did not have it in our policy manual, is IKAB, that's Student Progress Report to Parents and Guardians. So MASC just added a note to this policy. It's not currently in the EB policy manual. And Peter and I agreed to add that to our policy manual also. And that's in order also in your packet. It's at the top. The first three are all the new policies. I just wanted to pull those out separate so that you would see them. So we can either leave them and talk about them next month as the second reading, or we could waive the second reading. It's up to you.
Are you talking about for this whole second group now?
No, just for the three new policies that I just mentioned. So one was IGD.
No, we're just going to do the name.
Okay. Well, the new name is the IGA, IGD is curriculum development and adoption. Those were two merged policies.
Okay, I'm sure it's on here somewhere.
It just, okay, look at here. It says, it's not listed, it's just mentioned, IGD.
It's mentioned in the.
But then at the end of that, it says IGA was merged with it. And the new policy is IGA/IGD. I'm sorry, I didn't.
What's the name of the next one?
The next one is remote learning file, IHBHE. And then the one after that is student progress reports to parents/guardians, that's IKAB.
So your question to us now is, basically, are you wanting to waive a reading, or are we saying, we thank you for letting us know this, and we will come back to vote on them next month?
To add those to the
To make it whether or not to add those next month.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you if you want to do the waive the second reading or not.
And if you waive the second reading, what happens? We vote on them now,
Yes.
individually?
No, well, we could do all together or individually, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just say, yes or no.
No, I mean the policies individually.
Oh, yeah, you could do them individually.
You don't have to.
Yeah, but I think it sounds like we will.
What
In
we
terms
have-
of, read them individually instead of lumping them as a group
Okay.
for the new ones to add.
Does anybody have a preference?
I do.
Whatever.
Individually.
Yeah, we'll do them individually.
Then
GD, IGD/IGA first.
yes.
Okay, so let's go to that policy.
I move to waive the second reading process for the IGA, IGD curriculum development and adoption.
Would you like for me to read the policy?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So do you know which one?
So this is
right now?
This was under IGD, but now it's a combination of IGD, IGA, and it's curriculum development and adoption. Adoption was added. Constant adaptation and development of the curriculum is necessary if the district is to meet needs of the students in its school. To be successful, curriculum development must be a collaborative enterprise involving staff and administrators utilizing their professional expertise. The school committee will rely on the professional staff to design and implement instructional programs and courses of study that will forward the educational goals of the school district. The superintendent will have the authority to approve new programs and courses of study after they have been thoroughly studied and found to support educational goals. The committee itself will consider and officially adopt new programs and courses when they constitute an extensive alteration in instructional content or approach. The committee wishes to be informed of all new courses and substantive revisions in curriculum. It will receive reports on changes made under consideration. Its acceptance of these reports, including a listing of the high school program of studies, will constitute its adoption of the curriculum for official purposes. That is sourced from MASC, updated in 2023.
Okay. Got it.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Not now. Good.
Okay.
Oh, I made the motion. Did somebody second it?
Second?
Discussion?
None?
Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
So, I move that we accept the policy.
We just did.
Oh, no, that was waiving the second reading
Oh,
process.
okay. All right,
So
sorry.
this is the first reading. So I move that we accept this policy on the first reading. That's IGA, IGD, curriculum development and adoption.
I second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
If I remember, this
And,
remote learning one is really long.
Yeah, maybe we don't need to read it all,
No.
unless people need it read. Okay.
So I move to waive the second reading process for IHBHE remote learning.
Second. Good. All right. Point of,
No, okay, go ahead. Yep. Somebody second that, we're all set?
Yep.
He seconded it.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Oh, hold on.
aye.
Oh, Amy?
No, I have questions. Why don't we have one now?
I did not know that that MASC came out with one, and we just never created one.
We had an MOU during COVID so that students could learn at home that was adapted. And then when COVID went, everything pretty much went with that, and now it's sort of, I think, underlining, we have Edgenuity, we have other programs that students can learn at home if need be, if their IEP, a 504 calls for it. It probably just was, they also, it talks about, I think, weather emergencies in here on remote learning days. The commissioner, Riley, prior to the new commissioner, now Commissioner Riley has retired, that weather emergencies he took out, and there were no blizzard bags. So you could not, he wanted to have snow days and not weather emergency days, and that's one of the reasons I think remote learning was taken at that time, because he felt that if you get a snow day, that kids would rather play than be doing remote learning. I think that was one of the things from
Fair.
Commissioner
So
Riley.
does this just give you the authority to say we're going to be remote?
No.
We're going to learn remote today?
No.
No.
No. The commissioner, right now, I don't think there is no weather emergency remote, there is no blizzard bag day.
Or a random day that you can
Or a
decide
random
is
day that I
Bridgewater
can
is
just
remote.
say.
Yes.
But if something happened, a COVID-type thing happened,
Yeah.
this is in place,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't have to scramble, vote how to do this. It's sort of like an insurance policy,
Outburst,
Correct.
school can't be
Yep.
functioning.
If you,
right?
right. School was done for 4 or 5 days, we'd have an MOU, and we would try to get back in there, that we don't have to have a memorandum of understanding if you have this policy in place. This is just an automatic.
Okay. Okay, Amy, do you have any other question?
No, just wondering if people think that kids should be learning remote.
Well, it's just as a safety valve kind of thing, okay? All right, so did we vote on that?
We have not yet voted on it. That was discussion.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for keeping track, Peter. I move to waive the second reading process for the IKAB student progress reports to parents/guardian.
Second? Any discussion?
So what is our policy right now with regard to student progress reports?
I don't know if we have a policy, but.
What do we do?
We have regularly scheduled.
We have
So
protocol.
at the junior, senior high school, there's 4 terms with progress reports. Mitchell and Central School have 3 reporting terms.
Okay,
That's their protocol, it's in their handbook.
okay. So,
So this just pretty much institutes a policy that we are already currently doing. So now,
but it's in writing.
but
Okay,
now it's in writing.
Perfect, yep, great, thank you. Okay. We moved and seconded, are we ready to vote?
It says that oh, sorry, are we discussing?
Discussion, yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
This says that a report depicting the student's progress will be issued periodically following an evaluation. So that's just parent-teacher conferences, right? Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So that waived the second reading. So I move to adopt IKAB student progress reports to parents/guardians.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I guess I moved your move. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm ready to vote.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, the next.
Don't let me see.
The next
You
part
take
should be
it.
faster. So on the IGB Student Services Program, the only thing that was updated was the note was updated, and Peter and I said to just keep the EB version. The EB version was slightly different than that.
I missed it.
What is this?
Oh,
MASC recommended to check for proper responsible party?
Yes, and so, actually, ours states that it's the assistant superintendent, and in the MASC version, it states pupil service director. But I'm gonna guess and say it's probably still the assistant superintendent are still in charge of student services programs?
Yes, however, I use the pupil personnel administrative assistant to coordinate those services, so we work together on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, wait a second. Is that how that works?
So that's for non-special education students.
Right.
Requiring services due to hospitalization or long-term
Like
care needs.
psychological services, speech correction, homebound, hospital.
Yeah, it's a little blurry because some of those are like services that would be specifically for students who become eligible, so, but,
So should we say the assistant superintendent or special education director? Or does it or should it just say the assistant superintendent?
I would put it as superintendent slash,
yeah, I mean, you have up in the top, the student services staff, so,
and just put it as superintendent slash pupil personnel. That way, wherever it falls,
Pupil personnel or SPED?
that's fine.
Which
pupil
one?
personnel.
Pupil personnel? Okay, thank you.
There it comes. It's education.
And then, IHAMA parental notification relative to sex education, there was a slight language update. We said, we agreed to accept the slight language update. And then IHBA Student Services Program title and language updates, we agreed to adopt the update and the title and language update. IHBD compensatory education, a cross-reference was added. We agreed to that. IHBF homebound instruction update language and note added. We agreed to that also. And then IHBG homeschooling updated language. We kept our version and added just a note. That was IHBG. Because it's not a requirement, it's just an option. So, we said to keep as is. That was IHBG.
What was the note?
The note that MASC has is a student being educated in a home-based program with the district may have access to public school activities of either a curricular or extracurricular nature upon approval of the superintendent. So it's not a requirement, but we do it. We already do this.
We do, so when you approve a homeschool plan, that has already been in the application for parents.
Yes.
So are you keeping this version or this version?
We're
'Cause
keeping the East Bridgewater version.
this says certified teachers and this says licensed teachers. Does it matter?
1 second.
No, it's one and the same.
Same.
IHBG.
You got that answered out.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So all set then. And then IHBH, Alternative School Programs, updated language, remove first paragraph. We kept, we took the changes. So we said to keep the MASC version. Oh. And then skipping the next, that, because we already voted on IHBHE. IJ, instructional materials, added cross-reference. We said to keep as is and just add the cross-reference. Because, so we just updated IJ not that long ago, and so ours does not look exactly like the MASC version, so we said to keep it as the way we have it, and then just add the cross-reference of the IGA, IGD, curriculum development and adoption. That's all. And then IJ-R, reconsideration of instructional resources, formatting update, we said to keep it as is. And then IJL, library materials, selection and adoption, there was added reference, and we agreed to take that. And then IJOA, field trips, there was a cross-reference added, but the MASC version is different than what we had, and we decided to adopt the MASC version of IJOA field trips.
What are the differences?
So on the MASC version, there's 5 bullets or 5 numbered things, and then on the other one, there's only 4. And then on the MASC version, there is 1 little paragraph, and on the East Bridgewater one, it's there's more verbiage.
The MASC version said it added all trips allow students access without regard of family ability to pay, which was not included in the EB version.
Right. That, and then they added cross-reference.
Cross-references.
Yes. And, yeah, that's it. And then, so on your agenda, it says IKF graduation requirements, that one was tabled. ILD student submission to educational surveys and research. There was language change to clarify new federal requirements that parents must be notified and allowed the opportunity to opt out of any time a survey analysis or evaluation that reveals information concerning bulleted items 1 through 8 or I through 8, I don't know, listed above is to be administered. So that's ILD.
That was just a language thing.
Yeah, we voted to accept it. And then IMB, teaching about controversial issues, controversial speakers, just a cross-reference was added, and we agreed to do that. And then, so IMG is also on the agenda, but we tabled that because, so we just updated IMG not that long ago, and we had our attorneys look at it, and so now, they took IMG and IMGA and split them into 2 policies, but I don't want to touch them unless we have them reviewed because laws and regulations were changed, and I know I'm not a lawyer. So just to make sure that we're in compliance and to make sure that we keep the things in there that we wanted, Peter and I thought it was a good idea to have our attorneys look at those too.
Sounds good.
I think that, and then the last one is JIC, student discipline. And that just added clarifying updates and added to intentionally include reference to regulatory requirements specific to the 2 things written there.
Okay?
Can I ask a question about the parental notification relative to sex education? What was the slight language update?
Which one was that?
Sex education one.
No, which file number?
IHAMA? Is the slight language just the crossing out of the words that's on the MASC version?
Usually, I think.
Hold on, let me just pull it out. They crossed out in our schools. It's in the first line of the second paragraph, in our schools is crossed out.
So that's what we're adopting, these two red line changes?
Yes.
So that, what, this here is just our current, you're saying this will be updated?
I can't see.
That's
it.
the EB one.
This is the EB one.
Yes, we would.
EB is existing, right, so
Yes.
this isn't already updated.
Yes, it's not updated
Okay.
yet.
The bottom of this says the superintendent of schools will distribute a copy of this policy to each principal by September 1st.
Yes,
Something
it's
we
on,
do?
it's on both of those. It's on the EB and the MASC version. That line, that is.
Are you
Are
asking?
you
me
okay
if
with
that's
that?
what-
Is that something we do already?
So, I don't know if it's gonna be confusing, but I move that we waive the two reading process and all the things we just went over for those last section of policies.
So moved.
Thank you. We need a second.
Need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Move that second, okay.
So I move that we accept all the changes to these policies, or no changes, depending on which policy it was, in the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I'll give you a copy of this at the end, so it's not so confusing.
That might be a stretch. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is a ton of work.
Yeah.
I've done that before. It's not a lot of laughs, but thank you.
It's definitely not a lot of laugh. A
Thank
lot of talking to myself.
Yeah. Oh. Phew, thank you for getting us through all that. That was great. So we'll move to action items.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Yes.
like to make a motion that we move the last action item to be first under action items.
So the action required by school committee on retaining third-party investigator to investigate a personnel matter?
Correct.
Okay, so we can do that, just footnote, there's no discussion about it. We either vote it yea or nay.
Can I say one thing, too?
Not if
About
it's
these
not that
policies?
season.
No, about the policies. We're coming close to the end. I just wanted to put that in there.
Thank you,
Right.
Ellen.
Okay, so we'll take a vote on that action item to retain third party to investigate a personnel matter.
I'd like to make a motion that the school committee move forward retaining a third-party investigator to investigate a personnel matter.
Okay? Second, okay. Discussion? Well, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Done? Thank you.
Can I also ask that when the third-party investigator is hired, that all updates from them are provided to both the chair and vice chair?
Yes, absolutely.
People, thank you.
Yes. You? Okay. Action required to review payroll warrants 25 PS dated 12/18/24 and 27 PS dated 1/1/25.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Very good. You have that, Lynn, that Peter abstained. Action required after review of accounts payable warrants SW 26 dated 12/17/24 and 28V dated 12/27/24.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved the September 10 school committee meeting minutes enclosed.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain. I haven't read them. I apologize.
Oh, okay. So one abstain with that, okay. And approved December 3rd school committee meeting. Did I have that? I didn't think I separated those out.
There.
They're there? Okay. Okay, I know I saw them. So approved December 3rd, 2024 school committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
I'm going to abstain
So
again.
I was
Amy
not-
abstained, Peter abstained.
I was not at that meeting.
Okay. Okay. You had that, Lynn, the abstentions? Okay. Action required by the school committee on approving the Right-On Scholarship. We did this already. I took care of that. And I believe we are done, with the exception of the fact that we will adjourn the open meeting to an executive session.
Before we do that, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Sorry, I apologize if I missed it. The student discipline item, was that in this packet?
Yeah, that was one of the last ones that we went through.
Oh, JIC?
JIC?
Yes.
Are you talking about, yeah, JIC was one of the last policy I talked about.
Sorry, but also, you have school committee reminders. Did you need to say that, what those are?
Those
That
are
is-
just for us.
Oh, okay, internally?
Yep.
Okay,
The DEI, we talked about, and
yep.
Train wants to come and make a presentation to us to save us money.
I'm sorry, I'm
Okay.
gonna belabor.
Money saver.
Is JIC in this packet?
I believe so.
I hope so. Let's see if it didn't make it in there. It would be the last. Oh, no, is it not in there?
Yeah, I see, here it is.
Is it in there?
I see yours.
Where's mine?
Yeah, I definitely don't have
Is
this.
it not in our materials?
She has it.
I definitely don't have
I know, but did
this.
you pull it out of your packet or did you pull it out of your materials? Did you pull it out of your,
Show materials, not packet.
oh. So then it was, I don't know how it didn't make it in the packet. Okay, well, I guess we have to hold JIC until next time.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll table that.
Yes, so,
All right, Lynn, you get that? We'll table JIC. Very good. Any other point? Otherwise, we'll move from open meeting to an executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21. A, for the purpose, and not for the purpose. Three,
Purpose.
to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with East Bridgewater Education Association and not return to open session. And I believe we need to take a vote on that, right?
yes, roll call vote.
Roll call vote, McKinnon, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Fury, aye.
Pika, aye.
Barry, aye.
All set. And we'll head to executive session. Thank you.